Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Springfield at the Illinois Supreme Court building, which was built in 1908. It hadn't had much maintenance over the years, so in 2013 they closed this building and emptied it out, and they restored it. And it really sparkles now, as Chief Justice Rita Garman shows us. Chief Justice Rita Garman, now that the Supreme Court building is reopened and the public can get a look at it, we get a chance to show them, sort of tempt them, and make them want to come in here and take a look at it at some point. But boy, it was closed for what, almost a year, I guess?
It was closed for 13 months.
13 months, and all spiffed up and cleaned up and repaired.
Yes.
It's really some place to come.
It is, and we encourage the citizens of Illinois to come and see this beautiful building, citadel of justice in Illinois.
We were talking about, this was built in 1908, so it's just over 100 years old.
That's right.
And boy, when they built it in 1908, they really built it, didn't they?
They did. They put only the finest of materials into this building when it was built. At that time, when public buildings were built, the feeling was that they wanted to put the best in to show the respect for the institution and for the importance of the institution. And of course, this is the seat of the third branch of government, of the Supreme Court of Illinois, which is, of course, the highest court in Illinois and administers the court system. So underneath us would be the appellate court and then all of the circuit courts in the 102 counties in Illinois. But there have been many, many important and critical decisions made in this building.
Oh, yeah. And as we can talk about building materials, as we look over your shoulder, we can see behind you, almost everything is marble.
It is.
Our sculpted wood.
That's right.
Everything in this building is gorgeous.
It's solid wood. It is, they're priceless murals and tapestries, which I'm pleased to show you.
Yeah,
The plaque right here commemorates our completion of our restoration in 2014. As you referenced, the building was originally completed in 1908. Actually, the plaque for that is going to be rehung in this foyer so that as people come in, they'll be able to get the essential information about the building of the building and then about the renovation.
Yeah. So, and then over on this wall, there's another another plaque that, let's see, this appropriations for this building were made by the 44th and 45th General Assemblies.
Yes, yes. And of course, the restoration was done through the good offices of the legislature in allowing us to have the money to restore the building.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court had been asking the legislature for a long time, more than 10 years, to take action to protect the beautiful, beautiful artifacts in the building. The murals were dramatically fading. The wood was split from bottom to top in the courtroom, and I'll show you that when we get there.
Okay.
And the tapestries were becoming frayed and tattered, and they would be lost to future generations. The court felt that it was our obligation to restore and put this building to where it was, so that it can be enjoyed by future generations of Illinois citizens. So we're very proud of it.
Let's head in.
Please
Let's head
do.
in and get a
Please
chance.
do.
This is what the public would see. Now, you can
That's
get us
correct.
through security, can't
Absolutely. I think I can do that. I think I can do that.
you? No, maybe not. Our cameraman beeped it.
In doing the restoration, the clerk's office, this is the clerk of the Supreme Court's office, and the clerk's office was here, but in doing the restoration, they were able to open it up more, lighten it up, remove some barriers that existed here.
So it made it more efficient too.
Absolutely, made it more accessible for those that are disabled. Of course, that's a public access computer so that people can come in to this office, and of course, a lot of people do come in to the clerk's office of the Supreme Court.
Do some research or just
not research in here, but filing cases and accessing cases and briefs that are filed by the court.
And you do also have a library here, I guess.
We do,
where
and I'm
some
going to show you
research would
that.
be done. Okay,
I'm going to show you that.
All right. Down the marble hall again we go.
Down the marble hall with beautiful sculptures. You can see the eagles that are out along
Look,
the tall.
you know, I
top
saw
of
this
the columns.
before, and it was almost brown.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
look how it cleaned up.
When they did the restoration, they were able to bring the building back to the way it was when it was opened in 1908.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the colors and what it actually looked like in 1908. You can see from the way the walls are painted, it makes the marble much more vibrant and makes the building come alive. This actually is the home of our research department, the research attorneys for the Supreme Court, who actually do a lot of legal work for us and produce summaries and analysis as directed by the court. So I'm going to take you now upstairs.
Okay.
I'm going to show you the historic elevator in this building, which is, I think, original equipment.
This is a beautiful sight
Isn't
right here
it?
when you look up. I mean,
It
it's
is. We
the way
could
it's
go up the
framed.
stairs. We certainly can.
Well, I tell you what, let's just look up there for
Okay.
right now. But
All right.
do we know who that bust is by
Yes,
any chance?
John Caton, who was a member of this court.
Oh, wow.
And that is, that's got quite a bit of history to it also.
Beautifully framed. I mean,
Yes.
with these
Yes.
what am I trying to
Right.
say? Balustrade.
Right,
Yeah.
right, the
It's
balustrade.
beautiful. Marble steps.
Yes.
There's our elevator.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Hi, Justice. How are you? Good to see you again.
Yes. You see, the elevator has a beautiful stained glass dome in it.
It's gorgeous.
Many times, the justices, in talking with each other, we say, if these walls could just talk, because there would be so much history that they would be talking about. It is a thank you. It is just amazing. And this bust of Lincoln was a gift to the court from the Illinois State Bar Association.
That is
And
really
certainly
handsome. I've never seen one quite like that, where he's deliberating like that. Yeah.
Of course, we're very proud of the fact that Lincoln was an Illinois lawyer.
Yeah.
And
the stained glass behind it with that
Yes.
that backlit.
Yes.
That really cleaned up beautifully. That was
it's-
dim. That was kind of dingy too, wasn't it?
it certainly was. Look at the light fixtures and how they cleaned the brass, and they did a beautiful job of restoring
Absolutely.
the magnificence of this building. But this is the Supreme Court's library. It is open to the public for legal research, and we have a very capable staff of librarians that man this beautiful building.
My goodness.
Portion of the building. You see all the volumes of books that are here.
Look at the ornate ceiling.
Isn't
Look
it
at
lovely?
This. And the lights and the murals. They put murals every place, didn't they? They didn't pass a
They
chance.
certainly did. They really decorated this building in a fine and grand manner.
Oh, man.
So there have been lots of cases researched here over the years, and lots of study done. And of course, our librarian can access very old information for us and current information for us too, as needed.
Before we leave this room, I would like you just look down this hall with me
Yes.
as our camera looks down here, because it's
Yes.
it's really a great view.
It is a lovely view.
And it gives you an idea of what the total floor looks like.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Justice, there's no shortage of art here. Everywhere you look, even on the floor at the top of the stairs, you see these gorgeous mosaics.
That's true. That's true. And above us is another beautiful piece of stained glass that reflects the light.
My goodness. And the eagles again.
Yes. And then on the walls are this is walnut, but the names of each of the justices of the court and the years in which they served.
And so it starts on our left and it moves to our right in
does.
chronological order.
Well, actually, the starts straight ahead.
Oh, it starts in the middle.
It
Okay.
starts when Illinois became a state in 1818.
Oh, I see.
And then it moves over and.
Wow.
So we have, and then the plaque continues here with the more recent members of the court.
There you are,
And there I am.
fifth from the bottom, in
That's
2001.
That's right.
You were, let me see if I got this straight. You were appointed and then elected, right? You were appointed
I
in
was.
2001, then elected in
Yes,
2003?
2002.
2002?
Yes.
Okay, and then you served as one of the 7 Supreme
Yes.
Court justices until they appointed you the Chief Justice.
That's right. I served from 2001 and elected in 2002. Then in 2012, I ran for retention, and I was retained.
Right, okay.
And then I was elected as the Chief Justice in 2013.
And in fact, that's why your portrait is
That's
right here.
right.
You're the most recent Chief Justice, and
That's
each
right.
one gets a portrait on this hull.
Each one has an oil portrait done
Beautiful.
of them for historical purposes. It was quite an experience. I
Isn't
would
that a terrific
otherwise
honor?
never have had an oil portrait
What a
done.
terrific honor, you know?
It is.
And it is beautiful. You look great.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Whoever did that really captured
I'm
you.
very,
You look great.
I'm very pleased with the. So we have all of the justices in order, Chief Justices in order, because I succeeded Justice Thomas Kilbride as Chief Justice, and then before him was Thomas Fitzgerald, and before him was Robert Thomas.
And then a lot of Central Illinoisans remember Supreme
Yes.
Court Justice Ben Miller, who was
Yes.
on the court for a long time.
Justice Miller was on the court from 1984 until 2001.
Yeah.
I succeeded Justice Miller as a justice of the Supreme Court.
I knew
So-
his mother. She was the best.
Yes.
She was the best.
Yeah.
And we mentioned earlier that you were the 2nd female Chief Justice.
That's correct.
And if we go back here to Chief Justice McMorrow, this
Yes.
is her portrait.
That's right. Justice McMorrow was the first woman on the Supreme Court. And actually, when I came on the Supreme Court in 2001, it was the first time in my judicial career that I wasn't the first woman in the position. So I said there was already a woman in the room when I was appointed to the court.
And you knew her.
I knew her
Yeah.
well.
Was she a mentor in any way to you?
She was a good friend of
Good
mine
friend?
and a role model in the sense that she was a very gracious lady, a very studied lady, and a lady in every direction, but a very principled and firm person. So she was no one to be messed with, to put it bluntly. So she was, but had a great sense of humor, and I certainly enjoyed and benefited from the time I got to spend with her. I really enjoyed my association with all of the members of the court that I've had the privilege to serve with. Justice Harrison was the Chief Justice when I actually came on the court, and he swore me in. So, but I have known many of them. And then actually, Justice Freeman, who was...
Is he at the end down
He's
here?
at the end down here, and what will happen when the next Chief Justice comes aboard? Then they would probably move Justice Freeman's picture to Chicago. All the rest of them are in the court, Supreme Court building, portion of the building in Cook County. So they're kept obviously for forever. So.
Before we go into the main courtroom where you and your fellow justices would sit to deliberate or to hear arguments, the attorneys would come in this room first.
That's right.
And they'd give them a place to sort of get their materials together before they go in.
That's
This would
right.
also be the place in many cases where the public would enter too, wouldn't it?
It is. It is. Even though there's a side entrance to the courtroom, this is the way people are brought into the courtroom, whether they're attorneys or whether they're spectators.
And what they see when they look up on the walls at
Yes.
all the justices who have served.
Yes, all of the justices who have served on the court. And we now have since the renovation, we now have a kind of a bibliography
Kind of a
or a
key,
directory,
a key, yeah, there you go,
that
yeah.
tells you who's on what wall, because you really can't see
My eyes
the
aren't
ones
that good anymore.
up at the
Yeah,
top.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to find your favorite judge or
That's right.
your uncle that was a judge,
That's
you can
right.
find him out there.
You can do that. And if they need to sit down and look at something, of course, there's a place to do that here. So. And this is the Supreme Court courtroom, which is a magnificent room. Provides for seating, of course, for the 7 justices of the court. The Chief Justice sits in the middle of the court, and then we sit by seniority. So the most senior member of the court sits to my immediate right, and then the next senior sits to my left, and so on down. And so the least senior member of the court sits to the far right as you're facing the bench.
Okay.
The attorneys that are presenting their cases are at these tables.
Okay.
The appellant is the one who's bringing the appeal. They're here. And the appellee is over on the other side.
Okay.
Time periods are very strictly observed in this court. In every case, the appellant gets 20 minutes to make their argument. The appellee gets 20 minutes to reply. And then the appellant gets 10 minutes to make a reply to whatever the appellee is arguing.
And then you all would have questions too.
We
so
do.
beyond that time limit, then you would.
Well, not beyond the time limit. Within that
that's
time
part
limit.
of it, huh?
It's within the
Wow.
time limit.
So they better have it together. They better know exactly what they're going to.
Well, we try to encourage practitioners to understand that it's an opportunity for them to answer the court's questions, because the court has, of course, read the briefs and has prepared on the case, and it gives the attorneys the opportunity to know kind of what the judges are thinking, where they need to convince them or where they need to take their argument.
They'd better leave time for questions, because that's where they're going to deliver their real.
That's right.
Okay.
The most effective arguments are great give and take between the court and counsel, are really a discussion of the case. Sometimes we get lawyers that come up and try to read it. It's not very effective. It's better to have it's really in the nature of a conversation. I do want to point out the sign above the back door, though. That's a Latin phrase, audi alterum partem. And that's really an exhortation to the justices of the court, because as you recognize, the justices see that. And what that means is to hear both sides.
It does.
It
to
does.
hear both. Okay.
To hear both sides. So
like
that is a good message for members of the court, that you don't make your decision based upon when you've only heard one side of it. You need to hear the other side.
Very good. Now, recently you heard a case that was really in the public's eye a lot.
Yeah.
It was the pension reform
That's
case.
correct.
This room does not seat many. Was
No.
it full, and is there a limit to how many members of the public can get in here?
Well, there was a limit here, so we set up additional seating in the attorney's conference room and in the ceremonial courtroom across the hall. And we had video capacity so that they were able
so they could see it too.
They were able to see it.
Okay.
Our proceedings, our arguments are taped and available the next day on the court's website. And I anticipate eventually we'll go to live streaming. In fact, the pension case, and then we had a case last night where the legislature and the governor were invited to attend. Those were live streamed. So I think live streaming eventually will
I wonder if won't the U.S. Supreme Court go that way too? Wouldn't you see that happening?
I think that's the way things are going to go. That's the way our life is today. So we shouldn't try to deny technology. We should embrace it. So and see what it can bring me. But I mentioned the beautiful artwork here, and you must observe the magnificent artwork that was done.
And before the restoration, they were so dingy you could barely make out the figures.
You really
and they
could.
really jump out at
That's
you now,
right.
don't they?
In fact, the mural on the ceiling, you really could not discern very much about what was in there. So the cleaning and restoration process just made these murals, I say pop. It reminds me of what it's like when you look at a Christmas tree and then you turn the lights on. It's much better. Yeah. And and in restoring the paint colors in this room, these were the original colors that the building was painted in, and it really makes the murals come alive. Right. In my opinion,
they very carefully chose the colors to go
yes.
with the murals,
yes.
right? So
yes, they
it lost a balance.
Yes, it is wonderful, and you know the building was in pretty sad shape before the restoration. As I say, the murals were faded. In fact, the one that's overhead had looked like a bubble, and when they got into restoring it, they found that at some point in time somebody touch painted some of the places, and I think there was some issue of moisture. So had we not done this, it would have been lost. Yeah. But the beautiful wood in here can't be replicated, and before the renovation, this beautiful column. This was typical. Now they have restored that, but that was split.
Oh, it was. My goodness.
Split from bottom
just
to
like
top.
A log right
yes.
down the middle.
Yes.
Oh man.
And of course that was not intentional. It was an unfortunate circumstance that came from the lack of humidification in the building.
And they got that corrected.
They
now
did get it corrected, and
the HVAC is all balanced
it's
now.
It's all balanced.
Perfect.
So many of the wonderful things they did to restore the building, of course, are hidden because it's the HVAC system, and then updating things for technology so that justices can use iPads on the bench and the like.
Justice, we're in the appellate courtroom now. This is not used for the appellate court anymore, but it was for a long time, wasn't it?
It was. In fact, when I served on the appellate court, I sat in this room. But the appellate court now has its own home. Really, it was quite cramped to have both the Supreme Court and the appellate court in the same building. So when the appellate court went to its own facility, then the Supreme Court was left with, what are we going to do? And the court's decision was, of course, we would not disturb this beautiful room because it has so much history to it, and it is such a magnificent room. So we've turned it into a ceremonial courtroom, and we sometimes have small meetings here or small events that we're able to, put fewer people in. Yeah. But one of the points I'd like to point out is the rendering that is in front of the doors. That is at a temporary location. That actually was donated to the court by the Craybill family, and Albert Craybill was the artist who did all of these magnificent murals. And he was the successful winner of the contest that the court had when the building was built to determine who was going to do the artwork. And that rendering we did not know existed, but it was in the Craybill family. And I think the story we understood is that they found it years later in a basement, rolled up on top of some cabinets. It had holes in it. There were some mice holes and age holes, and it was very dirty. And one of the members of the Craybill family decided that he would have that restored. And so they restored that and presented it to the court. And really that demonstrated to us what could be done with these beautiful murals in the building that they, if you could bring it back from being dirty and having holes in it to the state that that's in, we thought all things were possible. So,
and really, that's a nice reference point because we look at the back of the courtroom. You can see that this is one of his bigger murals that he did, but his murals are all over this building. Same lady.
Same lady. It was his wife.
It was his wife. He used his wife as the model.
He used his wife as the model.
Isn't that beautiful? And of course, it shows you like every one of these had to be cleaned and touched and just, you know, restored. And,
Yes.
and it's very possible to do it if you have the right people and if you have the budget
Absolutely.
for it. Right?
And it shows, these murals all show the origins of law, which is, of course, what this building's all about. The tapestries were original to the room, as well as the marble seats that are present.
I love this because if you
Yes.
got to cover radiators, right?
Yes.
And I guess you ought to do it with marble and then make it useful too, huh?
There. And
Isn't
you
that
can see
terrific?
that in 107 years since the building was dedicated, the marble has not deteriorated at all.
No.
Now the murals, I mean the tapestries had, there were areas on the tapestries where they were frayed. And again, the wonderful part about restoration, they were able to repair the murals, rather they repair the tapestry and clean it and make it magnificent once again. So it's
really
there for generations in the future to enjoy.
And you mentioned in the other room, we looked at that wonderful wooden pillar that had split.
Yes.
If you look all through this room, almost everything that's not marble is wood.
It is.
And if you think of that dynamic happening to all of this ornate wood, that's a big thing to get that corrected, isn't it?
It was very big. It was a very big and very important part of the restoration. But you look at the beautiful carved woods that above the doors
It's
in these
exquisite.
rooms. It is. It's an exquisite place. And I must tell you that it's never lost on me. I've been on the court for 14 years now, but every time I'm in one of these rooms or when I'm on the bench, I think of the important decisions that were made here that have affected people's lives and property over the years, and the privilege it is to do the people's work.
What a great
here.
place to go to work, huh?
It is. It is. It's a wonderful, wonderful, inspiring place to be.
Yep. The restoration project came in just about on budget at $14 million and came in just about a year like they said it would take. And it is open to the public. If you want to walk in during business hours and clear security, you're welcome to see these beautiful marble halls. With another Illinois story in Springfield at the Supreme Court building, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.